Hi, my name's Phil Gardner and welcome to Fun with Boxes. Well, I do enjoy a small box game quite a lot, and in fact have played quite a few small box games lately, and that's why I'm going to cover a number of small box games over the next couple of videos, probably interspersed with some bigger games, but definitely some small box games coming up. One such small box game is a game, hold on 2 seconds, is a small game called Pocket Samurai. This is from a company called Questing Gentleman, and they reached out to me not that long ago, actually only about a week ago, and asked me if I would like to see a copy of their brand new game. And I of course said yes, because I was very attracted not only by the theme but also by the rather wonderful artwork, and of course it's a small box game. So yes please was my answer to their question. Now this is a two-player game which will only last about 5 to 10 minutes. So this is an ideal filler game just to pass away a few minutes there, and I would imagine it's got a very small footprint too. So I would imagine that this is something that you could set up quite quickly and play whilst perhaps you're waiting for a plane, or indeed if you're on a train like we often are, then you can just set this up on a little table on a train and hopefully have a whale of a time. So what is Pocket Samurai? Well, it's a drafting card game in which two players must choose between various techniques which they then use to defeat their opponent. Well, it all looks rather intriguing. So, shall we have a Fun with Boxes look at what you get in a game of Pocket Samurai? Well, here we have Pocket Samurai, and it comes in rather a nifty, sort of like plastic box, which is quite nice. Inside we've got the cards, the rules, but also a pack of sleeves to sleeve your cards. That's really brilliant. So I definitely will be sleeving mine at some point. So setting up a game of Pocket Samurai. It could not be easier. All you have to do is take out the two strike cards, and they'll go to each player, and then shuffle all the other cards into a deck. And then place the deck within reach of both players. And that is actually the setup complete. Okay, how to play Pocket Samurai? Well, it's a two-player mix of drafting with simultaneous card reveals. So a game consists of the Dojo Phase, when you get your cards, and then the Bushido Phase, when you use them to win. So let's take a look at the Dojo Phase first. You reveal 10 cards from the deck, and then starting with the last player to wield a blade, and I love this rule, buttering bread counts. Take turns picking one of the revealed cards, leaving the cards you take face up near your strike card so your opponent can see them. And when there are only 2 left, discard those 2 and then reveal 10 more, taking turns again but now in reverse order. And once there are only 2 left again, then you discard them, and then we will proceed to the Bushido Phase. And now on to the Bushido Phase, and you would take all your cards into your hand and then resolve the Bushido Phase until someone wins. And each turn of the phase consists of the following. Both players play a card from their hand face down. And then both players flip their cards face up. And then we resolve the abilities of each card. And if the card is not a strike, then the card will stay in play unless the card says otherwise. And if on a later turn, for example, one of the played cards revealed is a strike, Then you would check any interactions with your opponent's card in case that has any effect. And then you resolve it as follows. If you have more swords on your cards in play than your opponent has helms, then the strike is successful and you win. But if you didn't win, you take your strike card back into your hand. So in this example here, this side has one sword and this side doesn't have helms. So ignoring any abilities on the card for now, if this was the case, then this side would win the game. The game can be played as a best of 3. So instead of ending the game with a successful strike, you simply start over the Bushido Phase and keep going until a player wins twice. Now you may be wondering what happens if both players play a strike card. Well, the game would end in a mutual defeat. And if both players play a strike card without winning 3 times in a row, then the game also ends in mutual defeat. If you only have the strike card remaining in your hand, then you are forced to play it for the remaining turns. Okay, let's take a look at the cards and the symbols on them first. So the symbol here is a sword, and swords determine if you're able to overcome your opponent's defenses. And then helms, which is this symbol, determine if you can withstand your opponent's strike. Now, there are also 3 other icons. This red icon represents your force of action, whilst this icon represents your wisdom, and this one here represents your battle reflexes. And some cards could have variable symbol options on opposite sides. For example, this card has 2 symbols on it, one on either side, and the card's ability will tell you how to use it and which one you want to select to use. And now on to the card abilities, and some cards have abilities described on them, and all these abilities are flip abilities unless otherwise stated. So these are always resolved first when you both flip your cards over. However, if an ability was to put a card into play, then the abilities on that card do not activate. So cards put into play from your hand do so face up, and their flip abilities do not trigger because you've placed them face up. Some of the cards' flip abilities will list things such as defeats or loses to, and these are very straightforward. For example, wild aggression loses to the agility icon, but also defeats the wisdom icon. So as we can see, wild aggression against backstep, it will lose to backstep because backstep has the agility there representing its battle reflexes. And here's one further example. Sword hook there loses to aggression but defeats agility, whilst mind like water loses to wisdom. So as sword hook has the wisdom ability, mind like water loses to sword hook. And what are non-flip abilities? Well, non-flip abilities, there are 3 types. The first one is choose. And what you would do is rotate this card so that your chosen symbols are facing your opponent. And if 2 cards with choose enter play at the same time, they are rotated upside down, losing all their symbols. The next is exhaust. You may use exhaust the turn a strike card is played to gain its written effect. The card with exhaust is put into your exhaust pile from play. The effects of this ability last until the end of the strike in which it is used. And then finally, there is the ongoing non-flip ability. And these abilities stay in effect for as long as their card remains in play. Let's see a quick example of play. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to shuffle up the cards here and just deal 2 at random and just see how these cards would interact with each other. Let's flip the cards over and look at their abilities first. Now this card would lose to a card with agility. But this card does not have agility, it has wisdom. However, this card defeats a card with wisdom. This card will be defeated by this card. And this ability, it loses to a card with wisdom, so it doesn't lose to this card. But in this case, this card is defeated by wild aggression. So this card is put into the exhausted pile. And this card remains in play. So next, Let's draw 2 more random cards and have a look to see what these do. So we have Mind Games here, which has got the aggression and wisdom symbols, and it's got an ongoing effect. So this card is worth 1 sword equal to half your total number of aggression and wisdom rounded down. This card counterblow, it defeats the strike card. And if a strike is defeated this way, you would win the game. So if I had played a strike card, this counterblow could have meant disaster for me. So these cards remain in play. So on this turn, I have played a strike card because I can see my opponent doesn't have any helms to defend with. However, this card is worth 2 helms the turn it is played and 1 helm every turn after. So with this, I've got 2 swords, and this has got 2 helms, so the strike does not work, and what I would have to do is take that card and put it back into my hand. And now in future turns, this card is now worth 1 helm. Well, eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed I made a slight mistake there, and as Tom Jones, the famous Welsh singer, would say, that's not unusual. What I've forgotten about is the Mind Games card, because it has an ongoing effect, and that is this card is worth 1 sword equal to half your total number of aggression and your wisdom, rounded down. And I have 3 such icons in play, so this card is actually worth a sword. So that would mean I have 3 swords versus 2 helms, and would have in fact won the game. So just goes to show, always double check the wording on your cards. And that's how you would play the game. Each player playing a card face down, revealing it, checking its abilities to see what happens with it. It could end up being defeated and exhausted, or it could remain in play. It could have an ongoing ability, and you would play cards this way until eventually somebody wins. Well, there you have it. Pocket Samurai. What a very intriguing little game this is. This is really super quick to play. Your first couple of games probably you're going to play them in literally minutes, because you only have to strike your opponent just the once to score a win. However, like I said during the rules explanation, it is suggested that you play the best of 3 to make it a slightly longer game, and that's the way I like to play it. Now, the game could be over very quickly, but the more you play it, the more interesting the game and the options become, because it's all about drafting the cards you want during the Dojo Phase. And once the drafting is finished, those are the cards that you will have to play in the main part of the game, the Bushido Phase. And all the cards do slightly different things. Some cards have got abilities that will change and affect the way the game flows. So while you may look at it and think, oh, this is rather a straightforward game, I'm just literally going to play a card with some swords on and then play a strike card and win the game. But it's not as straightforward as that. And in fact, I think this is a game that is only going to get better the more you play it and the more you experience all the different card combinations, and just when would be the right time to play that strike card. But what has your opponent got in their back pocket, so to speak? You have to remember, or you have to try and remember, what cards they were picking up during the Dojo Phase. How are they going to use those cards against you? Bearing in mind the cards you now have in your hand, ready to play in the Bushido Phase. This is a very interesting game indeed. A very interesting game. And one that I really enjoy. And this will be another one that I think I will carry around with me for quite some time, because it is just so quick and easy to play. And of course, it fits in your pocket, as the name would suggest, a Pocket Samurai. So a very clever little card game that, despite its very short playing time, I think you'll have plenty of fun with this game. So while the game may only last 5 to 10 minutes, it's certainly going to be hitting your table repeatedly, and like I say, is an absolutely stellar filler game because of its short playtime. If you've just got 10 minutes and you're waiting for somebody to turn up for a board gaming session and there's just two of you there, well, you can crack open this and have a couple of games while you wait for your friends to arrive. I really do enjoy this game, and as such I have to give it a big Fun with Boxes thumbs up. Well, I do hope you've enjoyed taking a look at Pocket Samurai with me. If you did, please click the old like button and also hit that subscribe button too. That would be fantastic for the channel, and I would be really grateful if you could do that. And in the meantime, as always, thanks so much for watching. Please do take care, and bye for now.